Hello friends, ByeByeWorldx. I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about blurry lines and why people with narcissistic patterns of behavior love to keep the lines blurry. Now, if you're new to my channel, we talk about these things quite a bit now, and my P Monster channel. I think I tended to touch on this a little bit, but as I always say when we get on this topic, I'm not necessarily referring to diagnosable narcissists. I'm also referring to people with narcissistic patterns of behavior. So a person can have behavior that's, narcissistic behavior without being diagnosed as a narcissist. And one thing that you'll notice is that these patterns of behavior come from a place of hurt, like brokenness within, like that goes very deep, usually all the way back to childhood. Self-esteem issues, lack of self-love. That's what you'll find. So, like I said, not diagnosable narcissists necessarily, but these patterns of behavior that are destructive throughout this person's life, basically. So, why they keep the lines blurry? When I say blurry lines, I mean the way that they interact with other people. If you are paying attention, one of the first things you will notice.
The cup.
One of the first things you'll notice is.
There's a cup.
I don't have a cup, baby. I have kombucha. One of the first things you will notice if you're paying attention is that these people often don't have themselves and do not apply to their interactions with others any boundaries. They're very blurry. So you will notice that, like, for example, like they can be overtly physical, overtly affectionate to others, affectionate, smothery, just very loose, and without any respect for whether or not that other person is okay with it. The reason why it's like that, it's almost as if they are constantly fishing. The reason why those lines are blurry is because they are fishing. They are shopping. They are shopping for people who will reciprocate. And if those people do not reciprocate, they'll just go try it on someone else. But that doesn't mean they will stop what they're doing. They will continue with everyone. Because that's part of the facade. You might notice, like, if you have a partner, if you get in a relationship with someone who has this issue, like I said, often it comes from a very broken place. You might find yourself questioning your own reality, which is really sad because when you observe this person engaging in behavior that you would probably consider inappropriate as someone who's in the relationship with this person, like 9 times out of 10, if you call them out on that, guess what the response will be? Every single time. I'm like that with everyone. Or they're like that with everyone. That's exactly why it's like that. That's why those lines are blurry. If you are in a relationship, and now when I make these videos, I'm thinking of my children. I'm thinking of my daughters. I'm thinking of my stepsons there. And when I say these things, it's just like I want them to know these things. When I speak, it's as if I'm speaking to them in my heart. If you are in a relationship, you have every right to have boundaries. No one, not even the person you're in the relationship with, should deprive you of those boundaries. The boundaries that you need in order to feel safe in your relationship, and you have every right to feel safe in your relationship, need to be respected by the person you're in a relationship with. No questions asked. There's no reason why. If this person expects you to not have boundaries or expects you to not care if they're being blurry with others, there is a problem. Okay? Nobody deserves that. If you're okay with it, whatever. If you're okay with it, that's fine. But what I'm saying is you should not be okay with it if it's making you feel bad. If it's making you feel unsafe in what you're investing in, the relationship that you're investing in. And standing up for yourself and asking for boundaries and expecting boundaries does not make you insecure. It does not make you crazy. None of that. A good relationship is a relationship where both people feel safe. A good relationship is a relationship where there are boundaries. Even people who are polyamorous or polygamous have boundaries. They're still important. There's a spectrum of what, people are okay with, because people are different. Not everyone's boundaries are going to be the same, but boundaries are absolutely necessary in a relationship where two people intend to respect each other. And so the blurry lines. The reason why people with narcissistic patterns of behavior like those blurry lines is because it allows them to get away with a lot. It allows them to get away with a lot of fishing for attention and, testing waters with others without having to own up to it. And also, they're less likely to be detected by their partner if their partner subscribes to the idea that, oh, they're like this with everyone. And, to each their own. To each their own, Even if they are in a relationship, usually for a person with narcissistic patterns of behavior, being in a relationship does not quench the thirst for validation, because their soul is like a little wisp of dust inside their heart. There's nothing. They don't have, and I want to approach this as empathetically as I can. These are people who have gone through a childhood or grew up not feeling like they were enough. Their self-esteem is destroyed. There's zero self-esteem. These are the people who look in the mirror and hate what they see. Or can't be left alone in a room without going crazy, or can't be single, or can't, face their own darkness. They can't, because it's dark. It's very deep and dark, and it's scary. Oftentimes they will keep other people around, tie themselves to other people very quickly, so that they don't have to face, what inside of them led them to being alone in the first place, or feeling alone, or, a relationship that ended. They will end a relationship and immediately fill it with someone else so they don't have to face whatever issues they had that got them there in the first place, if that makes any sense. So what I'm saying is, a lot of times it doesn't matter what you do. If you are in a relationship with someone who is, that broken, just know when you see them going from person to person and, the lines are blurred and it's not clear, if they respect you, or not clear, or even if you are a person that blurry lines person has approached, pay attention, because when you notice those blurry lines and you're not having it and you call them out on it, immediately the response will be, oh, I'm with so-and-so. Oh, no, it wasn't like that. I'm like that with everyone. I'm with so-and-so. They're always going to use that person that they're in a relationship with as a cover. When they get found out, or someone points the finger and says, hey, you need to respect my boundaries, they're going to be like, oh, it's not even like that. just know, you know what? If you are a person who is single or a person who is making friends, be aware of those blurry lines. Take a moment to establish your own boundaries. You decide for yourself what you will be okay with and what you won't be okay with. And another thing is you need to learn. My cat is outside. You need to learn how to respect yourself enough. Okay, yeah, let him in. Hi, Basil. Yeah, no, Basil boy. Hi, I don't want to pet you right now, Basil. Basil. Don't knock my phone. Oh, here he comes. No, you can't go outside because you're not being good outside anymore. So one of the things you need to do is learn how to take care of yourself. Learn your own worth before you start going out to find people to know your worth for you. Like, that's not how it works. We've all made that mistake. Most of us have made that mistake. Don't look to other people to tell you what you're worth. Know what you're worth first. Treat yourself good first. Learn to love yourself first. Hi, Basil. Before you try and find someone else to share yourself with. Now, the reason why that is so important, there are many reasons, but a pretty big reason why, I know, Basil, pretty big reason why that's important is because you learn what it's not supposed to feel like. You learn to spot when people are full of shit. You learn to spot people, like the blurry lines people, who are testing you. Shopping around for people to exploit, people who don't know who they are, and people with also low self-esteem to exploit, to feed on, to use as supply while they dangle someone else along saying they're in that relationship. When you don't know yourself and you don't and can't look at yourself in the mirror and love what you see and know what you're about and know what you bring to the table, you leave the door open for not good people to use you to fill their own void. You leave the door open for people to take advantage of you. And they can read you very well. Many times people with narcissistic patterns of behavior, they can read people. Like, I can read people. I can look at people and see, a lot about them. That's just because I've always been quiet and I always observed, and also having experiences myself. They are just as sharp as someone who has good intentions. Unfortunately, they have bad intentions. Unfortunately, they have a void that they're going to try and fill with your soul. They have a void, a giant gaping hole in their soul that they're going to try and fill with parts of your soul. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't know yourself, and you don't know what you're worth, and you don't know what you bring to a relationship, and you cannot stand confidently on your own 2 feet as one and feel complete, they are going to try and take parts of you to try and make themselves feel whole. But it's temporary. You will always be thrown away. Never fail. If you cannot guard yourself from that, you can easily end up in a relationship with someone who is using parts of you. They have nothing else to offer you other than flattery and compliments and sex and their body. There's no substance to the relationship that you could build with this person. That should be apparent very early on. The only time it will not be apparent is if you don't know what you're worth. And if you don't know what you want and you don't know what your soul and your heart desires when you spend time with another person, when you merge your energy with another person. My stepson is calling me. I gotta go. I'll be back. I'm back. Your glasses now. So the last thing I want to touch on is if you find yourself, let's go through the story. If you run into a person with blurry lines and they come and, start fishing in your pond in the way that they do, not respecting your boundaries and seeing how far you will let them push it, and you don't know any better, and you receive those advances, and you begin to reciprocate and ultimately build a relationship with this person, just know, relationships with these people do not solve the problem. There's no fish big enough to stop them from fishing. That's one thing to know. Another thing to note is, well, first, observe how people behave. Observe how people in a relationship behave. If this person is already in a relationship and have zero boundaries whatsoever outside of sex, they can always say, oh, I wouldn't want to have sex with that person. Of course not. But there's nothing stopping them from continuing to fish in other ponds for attention and validation and physical contact that makes them feel, important or valuable from others. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent. Where was I? Just know, what you observe is what you will live. If you try to combine your life and your energy with a person like that, don't expect there to be any boundaries. Don't expect to be able to look at that partner and see someone you can trust, because you're going to see the patterns continue. And as you observe those patterns and you're thinking in your head, oh, they're like that with everyone. I don't want to be, insecure. Oh, I'm just misreading it. Oh, no, they're like that with everyone. So this is just what it is. This is what it costs to love this person. You will slowly drive yourself insane trying to maintain this relationship, because the reality is you're not in a relationship. You are in a partnership. I wouldn't even call it a partnership. You are being used. You are being used for when that person is fishing around with multiple people and gets called out. That's where you come in. You may not even know. You may not even know when your name is being dropped to get them out of a sticky situation. But just know that is what you were there for. When they are fishing around and, trying to get attention and they get called out, they will always drop your name. I'm with so-and-so. Oh no, I'm in love with so-and-so. No, you're not. No, you're not. And a lot of times, the person who is being name dropped will already have some idea, or at least they will become aware over time that they are being used. Something is not going to feel right. And it's up to you if you ignore it or continue to allow it in order to not look insecure or crazy. More popcorn?
Yeah.
So yeah, another thing, if you allow yourself to form a relationship with a person who was blurry with you to begin with, and you're like, oh, I like this attention. Oh, it feels good. Just know you're not going to get anything. Just know, this is not a person who can give you more than they give to anyone else, short of sex. That's possibly, that's not everyone. That's not every person with narcissistic patterns of behavior, because some of them will go all the way. But there are those who can fish and fish and fish and fish and never actually, eat a seafood meal ever. If that makes any sense. It's the thrill of fishing and catching that feels good. You fish, you catch it, you enjoy it, you throw it back. But the thing is, when you throw the fish back, he's injured. So just know, when you take that person up on their advances and their blurriness and you start to reciprocate, just know you are going to be the damaged fish that gets thrown back into the ocean when it's no longer fun, or when a better fish swims by. Just know, that is not a foundation of a relationship. It will never be a solid foundation of a relationship when you're dealing with a person who can't even employ boundaries. And the funny thing is, they will act like they don't know what boundaries are when you call them out as the person in the relationship, or someone else calls them out. They will act like they don't know what boundaries are. But if it were them, 9 times out of 10, if it were them, if it was their partner who got involved with someone else and they saw it happening, no, it would not fly. That partner does not get the same blurry boundaries that this person employs in their day-to-day interactions. The moment that partner shows any lack of boundary with another person, the person with narcissistic patterns of behavior and blurry lines will flip. It will kill them inside. How dare you? In their mind, it's just like, how dare you? Then they know what boundaries are. Interesting. They know what boundaries are. They know through and through what boundaries are. That's how they're able to manipulate people, because they understand. They know what the boundaries are. They know them very well. That's why they know what buttons to push to see what you allow and what you won't allow, and how far they can push things, and when they need to, put their guard up and say, oh, I'm with so-and-so. There's no possibility that I was, crossing your boundaries. They know. Keep an eye out for those blurry lines. Like, it's no joke. It is a massive red flag when you see someone who's not able to employ boundaries in their day-to-day social interactions with others. Not just boundaries that respect themselves, but boundaries that respect the other person, the people that they're interacting with. If there is zero regard for that, don't expect to form a relationship that will be healthy with this person. It's not going to happen. Don't expect to join this relationship and be loved. Understand, blurry lines is not a mutual thing. It's not a symbiosis, unless you're both like broken, unless, you're both very broken inside. But if you're a person who wants to have a stable relationship, just know that those blurry lines are there to serve the person with narcissistic patterns of behavior. That means they are extremely selfish. They are self-serving. They're not going out there blurring lines with other people to help you. No, they're going out and blurring lines with other people to help themselves, because that's all they can do. They're not able to think outside of their little headspace there. They're in their own world. They are the main character 24/7, all the time, every situation. Even when they're not there, they want to be the main character. Keep your eyes open. We don't give ourselves enough credit as far as being able to read situations. I feel like we as a society, and I don't want to generalize, but just the general the general culture of our society right now is we are broken inside. We are not whole. We feel like we have to find another half of ourselves, but that unfortunately leads to us ending up in unhealthy situations, if that makes any sense. Because we are alone. Instead of growing as an individual, we look around us and see Instagram and Facebook, and we feel, other people's relationship posts and, anime freaking emotional relationship series. Like, they really rub that stuff in. And yeah, you can start to feel alone. It's like, when am I going to feel, Asuna and Kirito's love? When am I going to feel, Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Moon's connection like that? And I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone. I'm just saying that we have come up to expect others to fill that missing part, when in reality, we should be spending that time building ourselves as one whole piece. So because we don't have that understanding, we very easily accept other people into our lives out of desperation a lot of times. But you can't just date anyone. Sometimes it's so hard to get a date that you just take whatever you can get. And unfortunately, you end up building connections to people who they have that broken piece that soul hole deep inside that they're not able to think of you. They're thinking of themselves, and you are available. And you get taken advantage of, unfortunately. And a lot of times you don't realize you're being taken advantage of until much later. And, or you're not willing to admit it, actually. I think a lot of times people are aware of it, but they can't admit it to themselves. So they stand, you know, I don't want to go too deep into the other topic. That's a whole nother video, but what I'm saying is we have to observe, give ourselves a chance to observe people before, you know, we start trying to connect our energies with other people or, you know, start lives with other people. Pay attention. Just take some time to observe people and take all of it seriously. If you see blurry lines, kid, you know, walking down the street doing what they do, don't expect them to be different when they meet you. No matter how special they tell you you are, which they will. They will. That's part of the manipulation. They will tell you how freaking special you are and how different you are. And, oh, I trust you with this secret because, you know, I've never told anyone. That is how they gain your trust because they know that you see all the nonsense they are doing. But when they try to tell you you're different, that is a massive red flag because they are implying that they will treat you different than you have observed them treating others. And it's never going to happen. Anyway, this is getting really long. I'm so happy to make a video. I've been kind of quiet just because I feel like if I try to say, I have a lot I want to say. I feel like if I try to say it, like I'm going to miss a whole bunch of it. And I need to stop that. I do the same thing with my art where I'll stop working on something that's almost done because I feel like I'm not going to get everything I want in the piece. That's a me thing. I just need to just work. I just need to do it. So here's one. Blurry lines. If you see the blurry lines, take them seriously. Run for the hills. I think of my daughters and, you know, their little friends and my stepsons. And it's just like, I hope one day they'll see these videos because when I speak, I feel like I'm speaking to them. I want them to, these are things I want them to know. Always. It's always been things I want them to know that I didn't know when I was that age or when I was young, you know, coming up as a young adult and got into some really screwed up situations. But yeah, self-awareness is key. And awareness of what's going on around you. People's energy today is so much more apparent than it used to be. I think people are more intuitive in general. Like tons of kids are more creative now. I feel like they're tapping into something. Like they can receive information and also communicate information vibrationally. And I think as a result of that, like we are more aware of people's intentions, which is awesome. We just got to make sure we take it seriously and don't let our trauma be our pitfall to allow energy into our life that shouldn't be there. Anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.